Now joined by Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 Chromax Pro Chevrolet. Jeff, you were 8th in final practice, but also a big weekend for you, making your 700th NASCAR Sprint Cup Series start. Talk a little bit about that milestone and maybe a few memories here at Darlington over the years.
Yeah, I'm excited, and hopefully we can start this race tomorrow night from a good position. We had a pretty good qualifying effort there in practice, and hopefully we can make the right adjustments and guess right for the conditions, take advantage of that late draw, and get us a really good start for that 700th. I'm excited. It's happening here at Darlington. I've known for a while that this was a location for that race to happen if everything went right, and this has been such a special track to me over the years. And I feel like, just showing up here today, it's even though the tire is still maybe a little bit too hard for the track is starting to get like old Darlington was, and I like that. I like slipping and sliding around, and I like to see the tires wear a little bit more. But so it's a great weekend for me personally to accomplish that. Obviously, a lot of effort over the years from the team. And a lot of different people, crew chiefs and pit crew members that have contributed to those 700. So very proud of that and excited about the weekend.
All right, let's go ahead and kick off our media availability with questions with Lee Spencer right here, and then we'll come up front.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. 2 questions. First of all, do you anticipate breaking Ricky Rudd's consecutive start of 789? And secondly, can you relate to what Denny was saying about his back issues?
Never say never, but I wouldn't say that's something that to me is like David Pearson's 105 wins. It's too far out there. You have to get closer before you can think realistically of those things. I never dreamed I'd make 700 consecutive starts. It's just an amazing thing. For me to try to swallow right now because it's been an amazing run of great teams and cars, and going from like 28 races my first year now to 36, and so a lot of things happened over the years. So I'm just enjoying the moment right now in those 700, not thinking ahead too much. As far as back issues, I'll definitely, reiterate a little bit of what Denny was saying. Over the years when I've had, my back issues flare up, what worried me is I didn't know what it was when it first happened, and I started just getting these different types of pains and during the race and muscles tightening up, and it definitely takes your focus off of driving the car and feeling the car the way that you need to go out there and get the most out of it. So, I've now over time have worked with doctors and, managing that, as well as now understanding the pain and that I'm not damaging something, that I can just kind of deal with it. It's just pain. It's not like there's something happening in there that is, that I'm damaging, where I should not be pushing myself. So, all the work that I've put into it has certainly helped me. Several years ago, I didn't think I was going to be driving much longer because of that pain and the way it was bothering me, and, getting out of the car and just not even being able to stand up. So, now I'm hobbling out of the car, but I'm able to, walk, and I feel, pretty decent inside the car. It's really more just getting out of the car.
All right, go ahead.
Reggie Anderson, News 19 in Columbia. Jeff, last year, Jimmy gets career win number 200 for Rick here. How special is it for you to be making your 700th start here at a track with so much history? And you've obviously got a lot of miles here.
Yeah, so much. I contribute so much, and so much thanks to Rick and to Hendrick Motorsports. It just seems like it was yesterday that we were signing that contract and talking about starting in the Cup Series, and that first started in Atlanta. So it's hard to believe 20 years and 700 starts later, and all the success that we've had too. It's been amazing, and I'm proud, of not just the record that I have of the number of wins and top fives and top tens, but to do 700 consecutive. I know there's, a lot of, there are other guys that have done it, but it's not an easy thing to do. But I've been fortunate that along the way, my main focus was not getting to 700. It was going out there to win and be competitive, and that's because of Hendrick Motorsports. And this track has changed a lot over the last few years because of the repave. But like I said, I'm starting to see it get back to the way it used to be, where you really have to drive that car and manage the tires, and not so much wear, but just the grip level, and stay out of the fence, which I didn't do a great job of today because I did get into it. As soon as we got the car working good in practice, I went out and hit the wall. So I guess that's a good thing. My guys are pretty fired up. They're excited about that. They don't see me get in the wall very often in practice. But we're pushing hard. We've got so far things have gone pretty good. I mean, we're definitely most improved in the first practice, and then the second practice I thought things went pretty well for us.
All right, let's go to David Newton right here in the blue shirt.
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com. Jeff, to be at 700 is one thing, but to be at 700 and still competing for wins and competing for championships another, because you see a lot of drivers get to the latter stage of their career and they're not doing that. Does that mean more to you that you're still able to do that and be in that position?
I appreciate you still consider me being a threat for the championship and wins, because lately with just trying to get top 10s has been a struggle. I know that this team is capable of it, and I feel like I am. We won the last race at Homestead. So, yeah, I think, that means a lot to me. And I got reminded of this the other day, of how bad I felt about it when it happened. But when Darrell Waltrip was having one of his last good days at Dover, and I was a torn-up lap car, and we met one another going into turn 3, and it ended his day. I remember watching Darrell and other guys, run in the back in their last year or two, and I think every driver at a young age says, I don't want to end my career like that. I want to go out on top. You either want to be able to walk away from it as a champion, or winning that race, or at least being competitive if you could choose. But that's not always the way it happens. And along the way, guys started making more money at the end of their career not winning races than they were when they're winning races. So it's kind of hard to step away from that as well. And just the love and desire that you have for getting out there and driving that car. I mean, I think Mark Martin has shown me that more than anybody, that, he thought he could step away, and then he realized, how much he missed it and how much it meant to him to go do it. He just didn't want to do it on a full-time schedule, and I can appreciate that, very, very much, because it's that grinding it out for the championship and every single weekend, for 38 weeks. That's what gets so tough, and can take it out of you and burn you out a little bit. So, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and I'm thrilled at the way things are still continuing to go for me, because I do feel like we have opportunities to win races, and I think we certainly have an opportunity. We've had mediocre at best results, and we're still getting close to the top 10. So I'm pretty optimistic that we can get things going really well the second half of the season.
All right, let's go Pete and then Andy up front. If we can get Pete a microphone. Thank you.
Jeff, Pete Yacobelli with AP. A little while ago, Denny was in here saying he thought that you changed this sport, the way you blended success on and off the track. Do you feel that same way? Do you feel like you've changed NASCAR the way it is from when you first began?
When I looked at it, I felt like Dale Earnhardt did. He was making a lot of money, and he was investing it, and he certainly helped me look at contracts and licensing and likeness, protecting your likeness and controlling those rights and all those things. So, it's turned into a big business. My first contract that I signed was more money than I ever thought I could make driving a race car, but it was nothing compared to what the second contract was. And, I was lucky that somebody like, I don't know if, to me these days, because I have a lifetime contract with Hendrick, I don't talk contracts with anybody anymore. I'm like, this is what I agreed to, and I don't discuss it. It's just, as long as there's a sponsor or sponsors that come and want to sponsor our car, and Rick Hendrick tells me that he still wants me to drive it, then we don't discuss that. back in those days, contract negotiations were just being talked among the drivers all the time. What'd you do? How'd you get this? What do you think about this structure, that structure? And so Dale really helped me in the way I like to structure my contract, which I have today, where it's a percentage of the income. Where whatever the sponsor income comes in, you take a percentage of it, and that's your salary. And if the sponsorship goes down because of the economy, then so does your salary. If the economy's great, you're doing well, the team's doing well, and the sponsors want to pay the big bucks, then you're going to get paid the big bucks. And I think that's the way it should be, as well as incentive-based, where how you perform on the track with winnings and your points position. So I don't know. Some of these guys, I feel like, get it before they ever earned it. I mean, my first contract was not very much. I had to go earn it, and then I got a second contract that was really good. I'm seeing guys getting paid pretty big dollars coming into it that haven't really shown any results. And so that's where things have changed today. It's tough to find that guy that you feel like can turn your program around, and what will you pay to get him? And then you have maybe somebody like Jimmy Johnson that you didn't expect to come in and maybe do quite as well as he has, and then he just turns everything upside down and sets the world on fire, and then you go, okay, we got to pay this guy to make sure he stays here. We don't want him to go anywhere, as well as the sponsorships. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question. I feel like it was something that me and my team of people, the personal people, like my stepfather, Bob Brandon, who used to work for me, PR people like John Edwards and other group individuals from a marketing standpoint, we worked very hard at trying to capitalize on all the wins and the championships and the things off the track, the Saturday Night Lives and Regis and Kelly and Tag Heuer, and just trying to do things to another level outside the sport. And I think I see the benefits of that more today than I ever did when I was doing it. It's not, those things didn't pay a lot of money. They just gave me great brand recognition and respect as an athlete.
All right, let's go to Andy.
Jeff, over the years, do you think NASCAR has tightened the reins or loosened the reins on what drivers can say before you either get dinged with a check or get called into the hauler about something you said? That obviously this is off of what Ryan Newman said last week. We all want consistency. Is what we always ask for. So I don't know. I mean, I do feel like I've known ever since the COT came along, that product of that car and the racing that relates to that car on the track is something very sacred to NASCAR, and they feel very serious about the implement and effects that could have by putting that down. Obviously, it seems like as it relates to how you talk about NASCAR and their decision making, that seems to be okay. So, I don't know. I mean, it's something I always thought about. I never want to do anything that's going to damage the sport, damage my team or sponsors, put a negative light on things. So I feel like I've always tried to be conscious of that. But hey, like Ryan, in the heat of the moment, it's hard not to get upset and speak your opinion. So I do wish we had a little bit more consistency and more of a what are the exact lines, because I thought for sure Ryan was going to get penalized. It was pretty harsh. I think we all understood what he was saying, and as a competitor, I can relate to it. But it was kind of over the top, so I was surprised, and he didn't get penalized. And the thing that Denny did, I didn't think that it warranted the penalty. It looked like a knee-jerk reaction to me of somebody that was very, a group that was upset and disappointed in hearing that and where it went to, and sort of made a rash decision. So somewhere in the middle there's a balance.
All right. Good.
Steve Conley, MotorRacingDigest.com. Jeff, your success over your 700 career starts has come at some of the more difficult tracks on the schedule here, Loudon, Martinsville. Can you talk about how long it took you to develop your success and your style on the more difficult tracks over over your time, and what it looks like today as far as how you race at the more difficult tracks?
Well, I mean, all those are different. You know, Martinsville was a long process for me. It was different than any other track I'd ever raced on, and you know, the dirt racing that I didn't feel like it really applied there. The short track racing I did was more on faster, more bank tracks. So going to a flat track like New Hampshire and Martinsville were the biggest challenges that I faced when I first came into the sport. But Darlington was one that I loved right away. It kind of reminded me more of a Winchester or Salem, which you know, it's you have to be aggressive, and it's fast, and you run right up next to the wall, and it can be very intimidating. But it was one I enjoyed that challenge. It maybe took me a little while to figure out how to manage the level of grip, but that went back to my dirt track days. So I don't know. This place I took to fairly well and right away. Those other two were definitely, that you mentioned, were big challenges for me, and just took lots of laps and lots of work as a team, you know, working with them on the setup and me with what I felt like I needed to go faster, and eventually we started hitting on it. And then once you hit on it, you build that confidence that you do know what it takes to get it done there. Just got to find the right ingredients.